Pakistan faces a delicate balancing act as it navigates regional tensions and seeks a stronger role on the global stage. Farhan Siddiqui, professor of political science at the Institute of Business Administration in Karachi, warns that opening another military front is not the only concern. The country also faces significant domestic reputational risks following the killing of Iran's supreme leader in a joint US-Israeli airstrike. Pro-Iran demonstrations erupted across Pakistan, leaving several dead, including protesters who attempted to storm the US consulate in Karachi. Public sentiment in Pakistan is overwhelmingly pro-Iran, says Maliha Lodi, former ambassador to the US, UK and UN. Decision-makers have been very sensitive to that. Beyond domestic considerations, Pakistan is also mindful of its global standing. Michael Kugelman of the Atlantic Council notes that Islamabad is aware of criticism about its influence on the international stage. This is high-stakes diplomacy, adds Lodi. It is high risk, high reward. If it succeeds, Pakistan could emerge as a major player in global diplomacy. What if it fails? Even if Pakistan's mediation doesn't succeed, experts suggest the fallout may not be severe. Pakistan would still be seen as having made a good faith effort, says Maliha Lodi, former ambassador to the US, UK and UN. And if it didn't work, it wasn't due to Pakistan's lack of skill, but because you're dealing with a leader who is unpredictable and untrustworthy. However, Michael Kugelman of the Atlantic Council warns of potential backlash. Pakistan could face allegations of naivety if both sides simply escalate after all this speculation, he says. It might be accused of stepping in while the parties were merely buying time to plan their next moves. Despite the risks, Pakistan has acted decisively, leveraging its relationship with former US President Donald Trump. Lodi points out that Pakistan nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of his role during the Pakistan-India crisis in 2025 and facilitated the handover of a Kabul airport bombing suspect to the US, giving Trump 2 early diplomatic wins. It got the relationship off the ground and created new warmth, says Lodi. Kugelman adds, Pakistan is willing to play unconventional diplomatic games, unlike India. Its leaders went out of their way to support the president, which has strengthened Pakistan's position in Washington and made it a more attractive mediator in the eyes of the US administration. Pakistan's relationship with the United States is only one part of its strategic playbook. Pakistan has realized that hedging is the best approach in regional diplomacy, says Farhan Siddiqui, professor of political science. In today's world, middle powers are increasingly comfortable pursuing a policy of multi-alignment. This positioning also strengthens Pakistan's credibility with Iran. Pakistan is well placed to engage with Tehran because it is not perceived as pro-Israeli or overtly pro-American, Siddiqui adds. Diplomatic efforts continue. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar is scheduled to visit China on Tuesday at the invitation of his counterpart, Wang Yi. Yet, major challenges remain. Securing a peace deal between the US and Iran remains a long shot. The odds of a deal are low given the deep mistrust and maximal demands on both sides, notes Michael Kugelman of the Atlantic Council. This is the most difficult equation Pakistan must navigate if its current plans falter. How Pakistan won over Trump to become an unlikely mediator in the Iran war, Pakistan's unexpected role as a mediator in the ongoing Gulf tensions, has caught many observers by surprise. But perhaps it shouldn't. The country's top military leader, Field Marshal Qasem Munir, is reportedly favored by former US President Donald Trump, who has described Munir as one of the few officials who understands Iran better than most. Iran, Pakistan's neighbor with which it shares a roughly 900-kilometer, 559-mile border, maintains deep cultural and religious ties with Pakistan, describing the relationship as brotherly. Unlike other regional intermediaries, Pakistan has no US air bases on its soil and has so far remained outside the direct conflict. Crucially, Pakistan appears willing to step into a mediator role, as many analysts believe that fostering peace between the US and Iran aligns with its national interests. Yet questions remain about how a nation already engaged in conflicts with both Afghanistan and India is positioning itself as a potential harbinger of regional stability. Pakistan finds itself walking a delicate diplomatic tightrope amid escalating regional tensions. While the country is currently conducting military operations in Afghanistan and faced fears of nuclear escalation with India as recently as last year, it has simultaneously positioned itself as a mediator between Iran and the United States. Islamabad has been actively conveying messages between the two sides, hosting foreign ministers from concerned Muslim nations and engaging in intensive diplomatic efforts. However, the balancing act comes with high stakes. Pakistan is heavily reliant on imported oil, much of it transported through the Strait of Hormuz, making stability in the Gulf crucial. Pakistan, more than almost any other country outside the Middle East, has a lot of skin in the game here, says Michael Kugelman, Senior Fellow for South Asia at the Atlantic Council. It has a compelling interest in contributing to de-escalation efforts. Domestically, the government is feeling the strain, having raised petrol and diesel prices by around 20% in March and introduced measures such as a 4-day workweek for government employees to conserve fuel. Pakistan faces mounting economic and security pressures as regional tensions continue to rise. If the war continues, the economic pressures in Pakistan will increase tremendously, warns Farhan Siddiqui, Professor of Political Science at the Institute of Business Administration in Karachi. In September last year, Pakistan signed a defense pact with Saudi Arabia, stipulating that any aggression against either country would be considered an attack on both. This has sparked questions about Pakistan's potential role if Saudi Arabia enters the conflict. Siddiqui notes, "The problem for us is that if we are asked to join the war on the Saudi side, our entire western border will be largely insecure. Pakistan is already engaged in what it calls an all-out war with Afghanistan, accusing the Taliban of harboring terrorist groups, a claim the Taliban deny. When questioned about its seemingly contradictory stance on diplomacy, Pakistan maintains that years of talks failed to deliver the security it needed.